All right. So, as you said, coming up tomorrow, the third UFC event in 8 days, all taking place at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. If I type ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena one more time, I think something's gonna happen. Or say it, one of the two. I'm typing it and saying it so much right now. It's just totally crazy. So this card is really quite. I mean, it's in flux as of the last I checked. I feel like Nipsey Hussle when I said last time that I checked. That's okay.
Rest in peace.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. But this card is, I mean, thankfully the top portion of it is pretty much locked in. We know that the main event is Alistair Overeem against Walt Harris. Very interesting fight. Obviously, this is the first time Walt Harris has fought since his daughter was murdered. It was actually less than 6 months ago. So he contemplated not coming back, not fighting again. He's decided to go on and fight in her memory and in her honor. And his first assignment is against Alistair Overeem, a perennial heavyweight contender. I was thinking about something. This might actually be something that we explore in the future. Who are the greatest UFC fighters to have never won a championship? And Alistair Overeem made me think about that because he is one of the guys. I mean, he's 45 and 18, been around forever, been in the ring or octagon with just about everybody you can think of, but he's never won a UFC title. So he definitely is in that conversation. But so clearly Walt Harris is facing a tough opponent. I was a little bit concerned because Walt Harris weighed in right about 265 this morning, which is a little high for him, and it's right at the ceiling of what they allow for heavyweights in the UFC. So that one's going to be interesting. The co-main event is Claudia Gadelha taking on Angela Overkill Hill. Now check this out. Back in the day with boxers, right? Guys used to fight 10, 11 times a year early, especially early in their careers. Well, Angela Hill is going for that same level of activity in mixed martial arts. Do you realize over the last 14 months, she's fought this will be her 7th fight in 14 months. That's a lot of fighting.
What's her record?
Over that time, well, she's on a 3-fight win streak, which is she's doing really well, which is how she ended up claiming this spot. But over that time, actually, she is. I'll tell you in a second what her record is during her little run here. But it's funny because she's usually at her best when she's this active. So dating this back to, I guess, February of 2018, during that time period, she is 5-3. But like I said, she's won 3 fights in a row.
But I'm asking you, what is her overall record?
Oh, her overall record is 12-7.
And when was her pro debut?
Her pro debut was back in 2014.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going somewhere with this. So this 7th fight is all UFC?
Yes. Okay,
interesting.
Yes. Yeah. She's been
that's even more interesting.
It is. Like her level of activity is almost unprecedented. The only person who really approaches that level of activity at any point is Donald Cerrone. He fought. Angela Hill's been fighting in the UFC since 2014. She's also the first African American female ever in the UFC. So she is.
But when you look at it compared to the men, and the frequency in which they fight, this is it's odd. I mean, but it's insane. The thing of it is it's I don't But do you know what makes it more odd though, Brian?
What's that?
I mean, 7 times in 12 months?
14, yeah.
In 14 months?
Yeah.
She's in perpetual fight camp.
All the time.
You know what I'm saying? That's the strangest, the more interesting part is that she's from fight right back into camp.
Right back into camp. But this is what she wants, and she said that. Yeah, she said that. And she fights strawweight. So she said that she's like, I'm better when I never stop. And so this is what's happening. And so she's got a tough one tonight, though, Saturday night against Claudia Gadelha, former strawweight UFC championship challenger. And, one of the best wrestlers overall. If you want to get an opportunity to see what my odds and prediction picks for this fight and several others, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. That information is there. I did video on every single fight. The third fight, the fight two fights removed from the main event is Edson Barboza against Dan Ige. Pretty interesting fight. Edson Barboza is dropping down the featherweight. He has never lost 3 fights in a row in his career. He is faced with possibly doing that now. This is an absolute must-win fight for him against Dan Ige. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't think there's any person in the world who is a deadlier striker than Edson Barboza. Nobody gets kicks from point A to point B faster than him, but he is older, and he does have some wear on those tires. So it's going to be interesting to see how well he handles a bigger weight cut and a tough fight. Now, I know he's following the lead of his good friend Jose Aldo, who successfully dropped down to bantamweight and looked good doing it, but everybody's not built the same. So we'll see how that works. So it's going to be an interesting fight for sure. Make sure you guys tune in on Saturday night after the card. I'll be doing a full recap as I did for UFC Fight Night 171. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, before you jump into between the rounds, I want to make sure, I wanted to kind of chime in and say something.
Sure.
When you talked about the Walt Harris fight and him being almost at the limit. Mm-hmm. So, something that I've heard from people that work with some of the guys that fought in the first show back, the UFC 249, mm-hmm. And then even the second show, right, that a lot of guys that felt like, the short preparation time, the unique environment in which they were limited in training, although they felt going into the fights that it wouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, some of them winners and losers, mm-hmm. not just those that lost, right, said that they fell off. Mm. And so when you mentioned, Walt Harris, who works with perfecting athletes, who, when you're talking about his weight, I wonder if it's strategic, based on feedback that he might have gotten from other fighters. And so maybe the weight is some way to compensate or provide an advantage. It just came to mind.
Yeah. And heavyweight, you have so much more room for the fluctuation. You know what I mean? So to come in heavier right at that top ceiling could, like you said, makes good sense. And I did not know that he was a client of Perfecting Athletes. So because I know the precise work that they do with their fighters,
it's all strategic.
I would not be had I realized that before I said that, I would not have actually even been as concerned, because it's gotten to the point that, from listening to guys like Jamel Herring talk, and Xander and Amir Imam and Tony Ferguson,
Crawford, all these guys,
all these people who are dealing with Perfecting Athletes. It would shock me if Walt Harris was just off from a nutritional standpoint.
Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, and really, Amanda.
How does he benefit being right at the because he probably cut right to the limit, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, here's the thing. Walt's a better athlete than Overeem, especially at this stage of their life. Walt's a really good athlete, period. Walt played college basketball. He's just a good athlete. He's quick and explosive. And I figured he'd have the speed advantage to begin with. Maybe that's already been, accounted for, and they're saying, if you carry this extra weight, you're still gonna be faster. You just be that bigger and tougher. Because I talked about this in my preview of this fight. Overeem would be really smart to try to take this fight to the ground. I know he is primarily a striker, but I think that Walt is a better striker than him and more dangerous. I think Overeem could make this a boring fight if he takes Walt down. Walt does not do well off his back, does not grapple well. So perhaps Walt wanted to be a little heavier so that he could handle himself better in those clinches. So that would make some sense. We'll see how it goes. Plans have
Sorry to cut you off. I just want to kind of
no. That's actually a very good addition, and I like that. Something else to think about, because actually one of our commenters asked me in the preview and prediction piece. He said, "Are you concerned that Walt weighed in at just about 265?" So clearly, he probably wasn't privy to that information as well. So it's going to be interesting.